All right, it is 7 o'clock, so I'm going to call the Tuesday, December 1st Common Council meeting to order. Elissa, will you please take the roll?
Ash.
Here.
Flynn. Here. Britton.
Here.
Barth.
Here.
Holthouse.
She's here.
Holthouse. Wagner. Here. Schmidt.
Alderperson Schmidt.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Thank you.
Wetzel.
Here.
Phillips. Here.
All right, very good. If you all would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
which stands one nation under God, with liberty and justice.
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. The first item on our agenda is the minutes of the council meeting from November 17th and 24th. Does anyone have any comments or corrections to any of those minutes?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Crash. I just don't need a motion on this one. That's okay.
Wrong meeting.
Yeah. I want to make, Alderperson Holthouse, can you hear us okay? Would somebody from my team talk to her in the chat about dialing in? Send her the dial-in information, please. Someone from the city team. Okay, the next item is comments and suggestions from citizens present. I do not see anyone on the line that isn't a member or otherwise staff. So we will move on from there. Next is committee reports. We have the Finance Committee from November 12th, 17th, and 23rd, and Plan Commission from November 23rd. Are there any questions or comments on any of those minutes? All right, very good. Next is communications and recommendations. The first for your consideration is an appointment to the Transit Commission for Lori Grosnick. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve Lori Grosnick to Transit Commission.
Okay, motion by Ritten. Was there a second by Wetzel? Okay. Craig, can you tell her that that's the number she should call? Like, type that in the chat. Thank you. All right, any questions or comments on that appointment? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Next is our COVID-19 update. I am going to, Carol's gonna present this evening. So Carol, I'm gonna pull this up and share my screen for you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I will start with the numbers that I go through with you each meeting. We've had a total of 11,120 investigations. 8,628 have not been a case. We have a cumulative 1,795 total positive confirmed cases. 1,612 have recovered, and we have 183 active cases. We have 24 probable cases, and again, underneath each of these categories is the definition of what that is, and that's a cumulative number. We have 382 suspect cases, again, or this is not a cumulative number. We have 291 open contact investigations, 3% of our positive cases have been hospitalized, and we have currently 23 deaths. And then this is the presentation that you see on Monday and Friday, just showing you some numbers or some dates to look at, and it's a little small on there, but early November, we had a day where we had 95 positive cases in one day, which was a significant jump for us. And you can see where there's more, the dark blue above the green, and then that positivity rate continued for a period of time. And then the next slide, it just shows you again a little bit different presentation, but day by day. And you can see the high spike. That would be the day that we had 95 positive cases. And then we had some fall off, but some pretty steady high numbers over a period of time. You'll see a day in there, which would have been last week, Thursday, that there are no reported new cases. And that is because the health department took the holiday off. We have not been closed for a holiday since New Year's Day. So we took the day off. We knew that there was going to be less testing the day before and including the day after, although it has picked up since then. And it was refreshing to have the staff off. And then I just covered call for that day. Next slide, and something you've seen before, but it breaks down the cases by age group, and our age group that we're seeing the most activity with is the 20 to 29-year-olds. And the second highest age group is the 50 to 59-year-old, or it's pretty close with the 30 to 39. So, you know, we continue to see that young adult through early young adult through young adult active cases. And then the next presentation really breaks down the pediatric age group, and you can see on this slide, and it reflects in what the schools are seeing as well, that the age group, the 9 to 11-year-olds and the 14 through 17-year-olds are seeing the most activity in the pediatric cases. And with that, I know I've talked about the work that I'm doing with all of the schools, but currently our middle school and our high school are in a blended model because they continue to see active disease spread in the school population, and then there is exposure with that population as well. So there's individuals in isolation and quarantine. Then this presentation is put on our Facebook and our website every Wednesday. It just provides a little bit of broader sense of what's happening locally with the metrics, the positive cases per day, testing capacity, treatment without crisis, positive healthcare worker cases, and then trajectory. And this is what we base our reopening plan on. And this was what was posted last week, Wednesday, and at that point we were still in phase 1. And then the last slide just goes over the metrics again, just as a reminder. So a few additional pieces of information I wanted to share with you. This week is very active with vaccine discussion. I have been on a number of calls this week already, just trying to understand what the details of the vaccine distribution is going to look like. I've been working closely with our healthcare community to make sure that our highest risk healthcare workers are vaccinated first. I don't know the timeline. That's been, a little bit all over the place over the last few weeks. And the plan is still a little, there's some discrepancy in what the federal plan looks like, and then our state plan will roll out after the federal plan is presented. I expect that maybe by early next week, we should have a pretty solid plan federally and statewide, which will impact what our plan looks like for distributing the vaccine. Excuse me. And I could talk a little bit more about testing. We continue to provide testing. The mayor's been very resourceful and has been able to get more testing supplies into our city. They just arrived today. Yeah, right. I have not redistributed them to the clinics that we're working with, but we continue to have really, I hate to say this too loud, but a pretty good supply of testing for our long-term care facilities, our hospital, and then community members that need to be tested.
Okay, before I open it up to Carol for questions, Jordan, the screen in the room is still projecting, even though I'm not sharing anymore. So just an FYI if you need to adjust that. And then two things I wanted just to touch on. You'll notice we've been getting a few questions, why is the city still in phase one? The phase reopening plan, is if we have at least one green, we would stay in phase one. And right now that one green is testing. So when Carol talks about having robust testing in this community, it's pretty critical, as that's really the one thing that's kind of hanging on for us to be in phase one. And then I had a question, Carol, that you and I haven't discussed, but I don't think it'll put you on the spot too much. Leading up to the Thanksgiving holiday, we did see quite a few of our schools adjust their model of academic delivery. And I feel like we're seeing a decline in cases. I know that we can't point to one thing, but looking at our pediatric data, I would be interested to know if we can deduce a reduction in the pediatric cases, or if there's any correlation there, I suppose.
Without looking at it, I didn't really dig into the differences that happened since, I would say last week up until now, but just anecdotally, we have seen consistent pediatric numbers every day. So I don't think that that's changed significantly.
Okay. I will provide just a couple of updates, and then I will segue to you all for any questions that you may have. Okay, so updates on our end as a city. We did not have any use of the emergency order that I could recall. I try to keep track as we go along. Funding wise, we did submit, as I shared last time, over $4 million in funding. I spoke to the governor's office today, and they're shoring up those funding allocations at DOA. So we're hopeful that maybe by the end of this week or early next week that we'll have an indication if there's going to be any reallocation of funds that weren't used. In that topic, though, the town of Watertown graciously reached out to the city clerk treasurer and offered us just over $29,000 that they were not going to use from their allocation. So we humbly accepted that $29,000. We're very thankful for their board and their chair's willingness to take that action. So we did receive a $29,000 reallocation, if you will, from the town of Watertown. Building updates, the buildings remain closed, but coming soon, probably late next week, or probably late next week when property tax bills start to arrive in people's mailboxes. The city clerk's office will be open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, just as we were earlier in the year for voting or for registration. So we will open those offices just on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for tax collection purposes. We hemmed and hawed about limiting the hours or the days, but we don't want people gathering. And believe it or not, there are a lot of people that still pay their tax bill in person, and the lines can get long. So we are going to be actively messaging the alternate means of paying those tax bills, but just for your awareness. And then on our staffing side, so our staffing has improved, which was a big relief for me, frankly. The lowest department we have right now is staffed around 80%. So to put that in some perspective, just a few weeks ago, we had one in the 50s, we had one in the 70s, we had a couple in the 80s. So we are at regular absence levels in the vast majority of our departments. We have two that are probably just a little bit below where they would normally be. So a good indication that the mitigating measures that we're taking here will hopefully continue to stabilize our staffing. Tonight you're considering an extension to the city's policy, which is an application of the Families First Coronavirus Relief Act. That is something that we've worked our way through our city team and then to finance committee, that essentially extends some of the FFCRA benefits to, Families First, FFCRA benefits to our first responders. Just to put it in your minds, that does end at the end of this calendar year. Jordan, I have no internet. Can you guys still hear me? You're all frozen on my screen. No?
We can hear you now.
I can hear you.
Okay, let me see if they're back.
We can't hear you now.
How about now? Yes? No?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was just going too smoothly. Well, if that happens, yeah, and now the screen works too. If that happens again, I'll hopefully notice. I'm not sure who's caller 3, but I'm gonna mute caller 3. All right. Okay. We'll try to proceed from here. So I think the last thing I was saying to you is just to kind of put the idea in your heads that the FFCRA ends at the end of this calendar year. If the federal government does not renew that, I will likely put something before the Finance Committee for their consideration of the extension of the 2 weeks, the 80 hours, and the coverage for dependent care. There's 3 components that really affect our employees. And the simple reason for that is I don't want people to be waffling on coming to work sick or not. So if we need to do that, it will go to Finance Committee and we can have some solid discussion on that. The only other thing on staffing is we are considering installing touchless thermometers. My intern Paul did a lot of good research on them. They're fairly nominal in cost, and it would allow us to we have been doing symptom checking for employees for a very long time. But again, we're looking at ways that we can just stabilize our staffing, and this is a pretty low-cost way to do that. As it pertains to the community, Carol already let you know that we've received some test kits from the JCC COVID-19 Task Force. It's the Testing and Diagnostics work group at HHS on the federal level. That was something that we will, continue to try to infuse the community with if we need it. On our programming front, our rec activities will begin to do symptom checking. We want to make sure that we are practicing what we preach. So you'll see that if anyone is involved in our rec programming. And we're also continuing to expand our options outdoors, which I'll talk about on this week's weekly roundup. You may have seen an advisory came out from our health department and Jefferson County Health Department. It basically is talking about the spread of COVID in the community. And then there was also a community letter that came out right around Thanksgiving with 30 different entities from many sectors just talking about the easy things we can do to try to relieve some pressure from our healthcare system. Last thing, I just want to let you all know, just so that you can, connect with me after offline through email or phone. The emergency order will appear at the next meeting. That will be expiring at the end of this year. If you're comfortable with me doing more than 2 months, please let me know. I'd love to not keep bringing this back every 2 months, but I'm also happy to do it if that's what you all are comfortable with. So I'm going to proceed with the 2 months unless I hear otherwise. If you have questions or concerns about what's in the order, please connect with me outside of the meeting so that we can have a discussion about those. Those are my updates. Questions for Carol or I?
Hey, Carol?
Mr. Cash.
Yes.
Sorry, Bob, I'll be quick. First and foremost, Carol, thank you and your team for everything for this community. Can't be said enough. I think everybody truly appreciates it. You may not hear it enough, but they do appreciate it. So, I've been hearing a lot of narrative about the concerns with the next 3 months on a national level and anticipated doubling of mortality from what we've experienced from March till now. On a local level, I guess, are we anticipating comparable numbers? What's the driving force behind what seems like kind of a doomsday scenario going into the winter here?
Well, we are having we're putting together plans if the scenario does play out locally. And the expectation is that the holidays will contribute to higher cases in our community and increased spread. As the mayor pointed out, we did have a press release before Thanksgiving and actually the week before that to talk about when we had that high day of 95 cases. And just to remind you that with the staff that I have, we can contact about 24 people, 24 positive cases in a day, and do some high risk contact tracing. But once it gets beyond 24 new positive cases, it takes us a long time to crawl out from underneath that. And then we have to adjust. We have to prioritize the positive cases, our contact tracing. So we learned a lot from that day and the days that followed. And so I've been planning with my staff if in the event we do see a significant increase in positive cases, and it really revolves around the holidays. It's too early to tell if Thanksgiving is going to have an impact, but it certainly is very likely that we will see some increase. We've seen it with all of the other holidays. I don't know if you recall the 4th of July, 2 weeks, 10 to 14 days after the 4th of July, we had some of our highest numbers to that at that point. And again, Labor Day, we saw the same thing. So we expect that this very compressed holiday schedule will see those increases. So we're planning for it.
Thank you. So just to clarify, so why did we're seeing the hospitalizations going down, our case numbers going up, but it seems like the severity or managing is going. So why the fear of such a higher increase in mortality? Is it just straining our infrastructure and our lack of? What that's where I'm kind of challenged here. Why do they feel like this is going to go the other way in terms of mortality? Which ultimately, I guess, most people, that's the biggest underlying concern is managing our capacity.
Yeah, and that is a concern locally, and there's a couple components to that. We are seeing that individuals are having more severe complications during the disease process, and we know that influenza it is circulating. It's starting. We're seeing some cases of influenza, so there could be co-infections, and an individual that might otherwise be healthy or have maybe have managed asthma, and if they were co-infected with COVID and influenza, it could be fatal. So there's quite a few elements that we consider when we try to predict what we might see in the next few months,
Okay, thank you. So get a flu shot is what you're saying.
right?
I think kind of how I wrap it up in my head in a really simple non-health way is it's like the perfect storm. It's, take COVID out of this mix. It's an unfortunate time of year for health in general. There's a lot of viruses and the weather gets cold, people get inside, and then you compound it with a series of holidays stacked on top of each other. And I said to to our leadership team this morning, I'm happy to see very much so that the average, the cases that we're carrying per day is lower, but we're still announcing 2 or 3 deaths twice a week. So that's not going down. And until that does, I'm glad the cases are less, the burden is less for our team, but I think, more people, just by virtue of being indoors and by virtue of the year and by virtue of holiday, are seeing one another, and that has repercussions. You may have noticed Carol said 24 cases that they could do in a day. About a few months ago, it was around 12 or 14. That reduction is because they have drastically reduced the amount of contact they're having with those folks when they call them. Before it was the better of an hour of conversation. And while I completely understand our need to do that and support the need for that adjustment, I can tell you just from talking to people in my own circle that they don't know the things that people that would have gotten the virus in July or August would have known, because we don't have the bandwidth to have those conversations with them anymore, to explain to them a quarantine period and what all those components are. So I just don't want there to be a misconception that, we're becoming more efficient, but it does have a side effect as well. Carol, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I agree. And, we try to put information out. I think we've been very clear with our community, the measures that they have to take if they test positive, or if they've had contact with someone. We're working close with our medical community if they're testing. So the medical community is actually providing some of the education that we might have earlier, because we were able to contact positives right away. We're not always able to get to them even within 24 hours, so it helps that there's some messaging, but we've really adjusted how we're doing what our disease investigation and our contact tracing. But yeah, we've had to give up some of that more supportive role for individuals where we feel like they can manage on their own, and they're out, they're in the community, and they reach out to us if they need something. Otherwise, it's all electronic communication once we do that initial interview.
Alderperson Wetzel, did you have, sorry, I kind of butted in line there.
There we go. Just real quick, Carol, easy question, I think, slide number 7, I think it was. You had a yellow line going, kind of like going up, and with all the days, what was the yellow line? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I'm going to show it right now.
I might have missed something, I don't know. I think it was slide 7.
Oh, yeah.
This one?
Don't see it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, that one, yes.
okay.
Yeah. So that is smoothing out those peaks and valleys. So it's averaging it. So it kind of gives a more of a trend than the highs and the lows of each individual day.
Yeah, it's carrying an
Yeah,
average.
okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Any other questions for Carol or I? All right, very good. Thanks, Carol.
Thank you all.
Okay, so next let's go to the accounts payable. Is there a motion on the accounts? Motion by Pash? Oh, motion by Wetzel. Pash, second by Pash. I don't know if this is for me or the person in your home. So I have a motion by Wetzel and a second by Pash. Any questions on the accounts? Elissa?
Wetzel,
Aye.
Aye. Cash?
Aye.
Went? Abstain. Britton?
Aye.
Parks?
Aye.
Holthouse? Aye. Wagner? Aye. Schmidt?
Aye.
All right. Next is reports and miscellaneous business. We have the Zoning Board of Appeals from June 30th, the payroll summaries from November 4th to 17th, the redevelopment authority from November 9th. Any questions or comments on any of those minutes? All right, very good. Then we have one ordinance this evening. It's ordinance 20-30. This is to adopt the Plan Unit Development Precise Implementation Plan under Section 550-152 for 722 O'Connell Street. The PIN is on your agenda. This is here from me and the Plan Commission on the first reading.
Written move for approval, ordinance 20-30.
Thank you. Motion by Ritten, second by Went. Any questions on this one? Mr. Ritten?
Has Attorney Simon Silva worked on a lease agreement with the people going to occupy the space yet?
So I think this is the last component for her to be able to continue that, but Rose?
Yes, I reached out via email and have not had a response.
Okay. Any other questions? Elissa?
Britton?
Aye.
Parks?
Aye.
Holthouse? Aye. Wagner? Aye. Schmidt?
Aye.
Wetzel?
Aye.
Phillips? Aye. Cash?
Aye.
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 All right. Very good. Let's go to our resolutions then. And as long as there's not an objection, I'm sure Diana would love to listen to 9 resolutions before we get to hers. I'm looking for it. There she is. If there's no objection, I'd like to take Exhibit 9127, the resolution to recognize Diana Monahan's retirement. Would that be okay with everyone? Okay. So with that, let's go to Exhibit 9127. This is a resolution to recognize Diana Monahan for her retirement from the police department. This is here from me. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by, I think that was a motion by Schmidt, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Second by Wagner. All right, perfect. Alderperson Ritten, would you mind reading this one for us?
Absolutely. Resolution for Diana Monahan retirement from the police department. Whereas Diana Monahan has served as an employee in the police department of the city of Watertown since July 13th, 1999, and Diana has dedicated 21 years of her career to serving the citizens of the city of Watertown, and Diana has demonstrated integrity, knowledge, and professionalism in her work for the city of Watertown. Therefore, be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of Watertown extends its sincere gratitude to Diana Monahan for her years of public service and wishes her many happy and rewarding years of retirement.
Thank you. I'm going to first ask Chief Kaminsky if he has any comments, and then we will give Diana a well-deserved round of applause. Chief?
So Diana, when I get to see you next, I have a couple of certificates for you, one for your retirement. I'll make one correction though on Diana's retirement. Diana started her career in City Hall, working in City Hall for about a year, I would say, maybe roughly, because I think from what I have in my record, she came to the police department in September of 2000. So she spent a little time in what would be Dot's former spot, Rachel's spot. So she was there for about a year before she came to us, before we stole her away. So I have another couple of facts for Diana. So either I'll draft those off, or someday when we can all get together in person, we can get those to you. But I just want to say thanks to Diana for all of her years of service to the city. It's been a pleasure working with you. I think I'm your third chief that you've worked with. So.
I am always so inspired and so impressed by such long careers in public service. It really takes a special soul to commit yourself to not only public service, but to service to just one community. So thank you, Diana. I know when I would come pick up my council packets on the weekends, you were always a smiling, friendly face, because we used to have to do that, you guys. Now you just get them electronically. You're welcome. But I always appreciated seeing the dispatchers, and Diana was always very kind to me, and the rug rat or two I typically carried in with me when I picked it up. So I wish you the best, Diana. It's a much well-deserved retirement. Before if you'd like to say anything, you certainly are welcome to. You certainly don't have to either. People go both ways. Oh. Would you all please join me in a round of applause for Diana? Oh, that's a cool picture. We'll have to see if we can get a screenshot of that and send it to you. That was neat. Thank you, Diana. I need to call the roll. Sorry about that. Elissa.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Cash,
Aye.
Went,
Aye.
Britton,
Aye.
Larts,
Aye.
Holthouse, aye, aye, Wagner, aye.
All right, very good. Thank you. Okay, so then let's go back up to the not as exciting stuff, which is Exhibit 9118. This is a resolution to approve the joint powers agreement, the county 911 emergency system with Jefferson County. This is here from me.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Schmid.
I'll second.
I have no idea who that was. Second by Ritten. So this is a housekeeping item. You'll see these one each for each county every year. Any questions on this one? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, very good. Next is Exhibit 9119. This is a resolution to adjust the EMS rates. This is here from me and the Finance Committee.
Move to approve exhibit
Approve.
Motion by Holthouse, second by Pash. Okay. Questions on this one? Comments?
Question.
Yes, Mr. Schmid.
Some of the rate jumps are higher than I was expecting for an increase. Is there a reason for the higher increase?
Yeah, so I'm going to segue to Chief Biefeld in just a moment. But I think a good blanket statement on these is, Chief, on all of them, we landed in the average, right? Of area
Actually below average.
below average. Go ahead, Chief.
So, what we did is last time there was a rate change was in 2014, when we were at the billing company. We took it on ourselves for a few years and went back to the billing company. We waited for a year to get the good numbers to get a rate survey done. And we had the billing company do a rate survey for us, and they showed that we were under, and just to show you, for a BLS charge, we're at $575, we went up to $700, but to give you an idea, Jefferson charges $1,030 for that, Johnson Creek $850, Exonia $750. So we're under what area is at this point, but it was that we were really low, that we just needed to review them, and they gave us a recommendation to raise these up, to do that, to help recoup some of the costs of providing the EMS services for the users. This affects about 19% of the payer mix, which is actually more the insurance, people that have the insurance, and it does not affect Medicare or Medicaid, as they are set numbers.
Thank you. Any other questions for the chief or comments?
No.
All right, Elissa.
Holthouse, aye, aye. Wagner, aye. Schmidt,
Aye.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Cash,
Aye.
Went, aye. Britton,
Aye.
Larts,
Very good, thank you. Next is Exhibit 9120. This is a resolution to amend the City of Watertown Employee Handbook of Policies and Procedures to update it for the Families First, that should say coronavirus respond. Well, I guess it's a Families First compliance policy. That's correct. This is here for me and the Finance Committee.
Wetzel move.
Thank you. Motion by Wetzel,
Wagner, second.
second by Wagner. Any comments or questions on this one? I spoke to it earlier. Elisa, are you fine with a voice vote? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Very good. Next is Exhibit 9121. This is a resolution to approve the contract for the creation of TID 8 with Vanderwall and Associates. This is here from me and the Finance Committee. Motion,
Move to approve Exhibit 9121.
thank you. Motion by Ritten,
Second.
second by Holthouse. Any questions or comments on this? Elisa?
Ritten,
Aye.
Barth,
Aye.
Holthouse. Aye. Aye. Wagner. Aye. Schmidt,
Aye.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Phillips. Aye. Cash,
Pash?
Aye, sorry, I thought I hit the mute.
Went. Aye.
All right, very good. Next is Exhibit 9122. This is a resolution to apply for the capital grant from the DOT for fleet purchases for the shared ride taxi service. This is here for me and the Finance Committee.
Ash, I'll move to approve, exhibit 9-1.
Motion by Pash, second by Wetzel.
Second.
Any questions? We're going to be considering a series of items that all pertain to the shared ride taxi service. They each have just a little bit different twist on them. So are there any questions on this one? Alderperson Went.
Is this, I don't know if this pertains to this one or not, but are they gonna let us know what they're gonna be charging their customers to ride the taxi? Is that changed or anything?
I'm going to go to Elisa.
The city sets the rates. The rates have been in place since 2016. There is some talk at the Transit Commission level of crunching some numbers and seeing if we need a rate change at all. But we've had the same rates since May 1st of 2016. And any change would have to be approved by the Common Council following a public hearing process.
Very good.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, Elisa.
Cash,
Aye.
Went,
Aye.
Britton,
Aye.
Barth,
Aye.
Holthouse,
Aye.
Aye. Wagner,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Phillips. Aye.
All right. Next is Exhibit 9123. This is a resolution to apply for the operating grant from the Department of Transportation for the shared ride taxi program. This one is here from me and the Finance Committee.
I'll move for 9124.
23?
24?
23.
3.
23. Okay. Motion by Wetzel. Who was the second?
I can second.
Thank you. Second by Holthouse. Any questions or comments on this one? Do you want the roll, Elisa?
Yes, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Cash,
Aye.
Went,
Aye.
Britton,
Aye.
Barth,
Aye.
Holthouse,
Aye.
Aye. Wagner, Aye. Schmidt,
Aye.
All right, next then is Exhibit 9124. This is a resolution to enter in a 2-year contract with Passenger Transit for the shared ride taxi service. This is here for me and finance.
Move to exhibit 9120.
Approve.
Motion by Pash, second by Holthouse? It's okay. I have a motion by Pash and a second by Holthouse. Are there any questions on this one? All right, Elissa?
Cash,
Aye.
Went,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
Bartz,
Aye.
Holthouse,
Aye. Aye.
Wagner. Aye. Schmidt,
Abstain.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
All right, next is Exhibit 9125. This is a resolution to enter into a lease with passenger transit for the shared ride taxi service vehicles. This one is also here for me and finance.
I'll make a motion to approve Exhibit 9125.
Motion by Went, second by Written. Okay, any questions or comments? Elissa?
Went,
Aye.
Written,
Aye.
Bartz,
Aye.
Holthouse,
Aye. Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Cash,
Aye.
All right, and then our last one for this evening is Exhibit 9126. This is a resolution to designate our public depositories for the city. This is here for me and the Finance Committee.
I'll move to approve exhibit 9126.
Motion by Pash,
Written second.
second by Written. Any comments or questions?
I just have a question. On the resolution, one of them is highlighted. Is there a reason for that?
Elissa?
let me take a look. That is the one we're adding.
Okay, so we have the rest of, we're just adding an additional one?
Due to Chase Bank closing, we are planning on moving our main checking account to BMO.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Elissa?
Cash,
Aye.
Went,
Aye.
Written,
Aye.
Bartz,
Aye.
Holthouse,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
All right, and then next is comments and suggestions from citizens present. I am not seeing anyone on the line. Mr. Pash, are you raising your hand?
I apologize, Mayor. I believe I should have abstained on that last vote.
Ah. Elissa, will you make that correction?
do I have someone else to make the motion?
Yeah.
Motion by Wetzel, and who was our second? Written, right?
Written,
Okay, so we'll take a
no,
mo,
you did this at finance too, you know.
so we
I
have a
don't
mo,
like abstaining. I like being involved. Yeah, my apologies.
motion by Wetzel, a second by Written, and then we'll correct to an abstention from Mr. Pash, and I believe we still have the majority. So that motion, that, resolution will still pass. Thanks for the correction. Anyone, okay, no, so no comments or suggestions, everyone is on the council. All right, with that, I'd look for a motion to adjourn. Oh, wait, I'm gonna adjourn, thank goodness Cassandra, Alderperson Wagner remembered.
Thank you, thank you.
I'm gonna take the motion to adjourn, but please stay, on the line so we can do the happy holidays thing. Thank you, Alderperson Wagner, I totally forgot. So I'll look for a motion to adjourn. I see a second,
Motion.
a motion by Wetzel, a second by Bartz. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay. All right, city, team, I'm gonna boot you so that we have, what we're trying to get is just an image of the alders.
Wait.